the cookie jar.
Good morning. So today we're going to be doing a instrument that was actually requested quite a few different times, and that is the Wiggles Big Red Car. So the Wiggles Big Red Car is this instrument right here. It's a rolling instrument and has quite a few different things. So this is actually a sound activation button right here, and then you also have right here. So it is a pretty cool little instrument, and it has been requested quite a few different times. So I figured I'd go ahead and dive into this today. And yeah, let's go ahead and open it up. So this in itself is actually a really cool looking little thing. And you can see the gear right here that actually moves the Wiggles people up and down. So that's kind of cool. Now what kind of worries me about this instrument is, if you look here, it is microcircuitry. So these resistors are very, very small, but you have two right here. Looks like there's two capacitors right here. And there's two maybe? Yeah, it looks like there's two resistors right there as well. But everything else is just points that connect. So a lot of times instruments like this are not circuit bendable, which kind of worries me about this. But I'm kind of hopeful because it still has resistors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wet my finger a little bit. And then we are going to touch around on these resistors and see if they give us any effect. So that's exactly what I wanted to hear right there. Now, since they are so small, it's going to be kind of hard to figure out which one's actually giving us that effect. And this is where a little bit of experience kind of comes a long way. I'm going to guess it's going to be this resistor right here. Now the reason I guess that is because we have R1 and we have R5. So if you've seen my older vlogs, I've actually talked about how R2 is typically the resistor that runs it. On this one, I'm guaranteeing R1 is going to be the one that actually runs the tempo tone control on this. Just because R2 isn't giving us an effect down here. So I'm going to guess it's R1, but I might be wrong with that. So we're going to go ahead and take a resistor and we're going to try to isolate that just a tiny bit. Alright, so you can see what I just did there is I actually based it off of this point. Let me get something a little more pointed. So I based it off of this point right here, and then also this point right here. So the cool thing about micro resistors are they typically run these little pads out, not all the time. So most of the time you're going to see them, and they're going to have one point like this. So where this directly runs into the resistor, and then the other side will be directly running into the microcircuit or, you know, some other type of component, and you have to solder onto those. Now, my warning for micro resistors is if you solder onto both of these sides, there's a very, very good chance this resistor is going to come directly off of the board, especially if you solder wires onto there and any stress actually gets put onto the wire. So I'm very thankful that we do have both of these points on each side of the wire. So it may be kind of hard to see, but this pad right here goes to this side, And this actually runs out and goes underneath of this resistor right here. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this blue pathway. And this blue pathway runs up to here. So that's the other side of R1. So R1 goes here and then goes directly through here. And that's where we're going to solder on. So we're going to solder on to this point right here and this point right here. And that's going to give us control over both sides of this resistor. So now we're going to be testing it out to see if we actually need a resistor on the wire. And how we're going to do that is we're just going to run through here, and then we are going to do kind of the same thing. We're just going to wet our finger, and we're going to make sure these are separate. I'm just going to hit this button. It looks like it is not actually playing, so let's go ahead and restart it. So we very well may need a resistor on this. I'm going to try to just flip it off and then turn it back on. Okay. So what we're doing is we're just inching this closer and closer until it crashes, which is right there. It looks like it actually touched together. So let's go ahead and press that one more time. So it looks like it gets really, really high before it actually crashes. I'm kind of curious if we can touch it together. So it looks like this actually broke off, and this is not good. So this is actually what I was talking about right here. So we've got ourselves into it here. So if you look at the board right here, what has just happened was both of the things actually broke off of this. And this is the issue with dealing with micro stuff, is it's very often going to pull this and stuff just gets pulled off. So just the bending of the wires just pulled it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to resolder back onto the side of this resistor, and then I may have to do the other side of the resistor to try to restore the board, but that is not good. So this one's being insanely difficult on actually soldering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hot glue these in place, and then we're just going to try to adjust them where we need them. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to actually have a hold on this where we need them to be without actually pulling this or moving it around too much. So let's go ahead and add the hot glue here. And then I'm really hoping, so I checked, it doesn't look like we're going to need these 2 points right here, but I'm really hoping they are not the speakers. So the other side of this is being rather difficult to solder onto, and you can see that the pad that we originally soldered onto is actually completely gone. That's not really going to affect us too much, aside from making it more difficult to actually get the bends on here that we want. Now there are a couple options here. If you have a circuit pin, you might be able to run it out, and hopefully there's a connection left there. The other option is we can go ahead and try to solder onto this other side of the resistor. That's not the best option in my opinion, just because the resistor might come out of the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to depend on that resistor running out to a separate pad surrounding this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and take a resistor and we're going to run this out to see if we can find any pads around here that corresponds sort of with the same bend that we were originally working with. So literally the first one we hit, just right on the other side of the resistor, does the same exact thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and solder onto that one, and then after we solder, before we do anything else, I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue this down so this doesn't happen twice. So now we have this hot glued down really well. We should have a little more support to actually pull on the wires, which I'm not going to do just yet because it is still drying. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run another 100K in parallel with this, essentially making this a 50K. And we're going to go ahead and test that out and see if it's going to support a 50K resistor. So that sounds absolutely fantastic in my opinion. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and find a median, and we're going to do this by touching both of them, not directly to the ground, but we're going to do the same method where we wet our finger and we're going to touch this to the ground on this, and one of these are going to respond and theoretically the other one shouldn't respond. And then that's the one that we're going to put on a toggle switch. So the one that responds to both the upper portion of moving the tone up and moving the tone down is going to go on the switch, whereas the other two are just going to go directly onto potentiometer. So I'm going to go ahead and touch this one. See here, that one is responding. It's actually going down in tone. Now we're going to go ahead and try the ground one. So you see one of them isn't responding at all. In fact, I just touched it to it and it crashed the instrument. Not getting any response there. This other one, it's actually lowering the tone when I touch it to the ground. And then you can just do this. That's going to give her a higher portion. So this one right here is the one that's going to be going on a toggle switch. And this one I'm going to run directly to the potentiometer. Fix these legs a tiny bit. That looks perfect. And let's get a solder onto the ground. So as you may have noticed, I totally forgot to put the resistor on it, and I am going to put the resistor on the high point right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that high point off, and I'm just going to run the resistor on there by cutting a little bit of length off of here, and then stripping it a tiny bit. We're just going to wrap this right in. There we go, and I'll bend that down a couple times just for security. Alright, I'm going to cut that right there. as you've seen there, we got quite a bit of play on the bottom half right here. So all of this is a dead stop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a resistor onto the negative. And on this one, I'm going to start with the 250K. And then if we have to go down, then we will. So we're going to do it in a similar fashion. We're just going to strip it right there. And I'm just testing it out here, so I'm not going to roll it yet. So that is going to be a little too strong for us right now. So let's go ahead and go down a bit. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 100K. So it looks like that may get the job done, considering it's going all the way down. Seems that one is a little bit too weak. So we need right there in the middle, so possibly a 200K. So this is actually a 100K from a different brand. So I'm thinking perhaps I have the other 100Ks actually mislabeled. So these are brand new. So I know they are labeled correctly, but we have a little bit of play at the bottom, but it's not super bad. Definitely not anything to really worry about. We have all of this up here. So that gives us a really good range right there. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with this one. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add the 1/4 Pro Sound. So by adding the 1/4 Pro Sound, what we're going to do is we're going to latch on to where the speakers actually come out at, and I'm going to latch onto the board side, so right onto the speaker wires, which if you look, it's going to be these yellow wires right here. So just by experience, I know this is the speaker. This is the speaker down here, and you can kind of see how they actually have all these dots down here. So these are to let speaker sound out. So essentially we know the speaker is going to be running down here. You can't see it, but you do see down here. So it's these yellow wires right here, and then if you look, the yellow wires actually run right here and right here. So these 2 points right there. So we're going to go ahead and tag onto those for our Pro Sound. Right, so there we go. So on these types of instruments, what you want to do, or at least what I do, is I always tag on directly to the speaker, and that will actually allow me to run the Pro Sound out. We just tested an LED, and unfortunately it doesn't look like our sound is actually producing enough energy to power an LED. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach the 1/4 jack and just confirm that this is the Pro sound, because if the sound is coming through clear, then this will be our Pro sound. And if that's the case, then we're going to go ahead and explore other options in order to give us that LED look that we're looking for. So it appears that that's not making any sound whatsoever, so that means we are not on the right wires. So to make this process a bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and take the board out. Now I'm doing this because I'm actually seeing multiple yellow wires underneath here. It looks like it's running in 2 separate directions, so it could be either one of those. So let's just confirm our points by pulling this up and making sure. So it looks like both of those yellow wires are actually running to these 4 points right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and test this out by just cutting one of these wires, and then hopefully we get the right one, and hopefully it starts making some sound for us. Alright, so before we solder this or anything, I'm just going to go ahead and plug this back in. And we're going to test it out by just touching it to it. So that is a sound right there. Doesn't sound very clear if you can hear it. So we're going to assume the other one is actually incorrect as well. Let's go ahead and cut that, and I'm not going to waste my time actually pulling the hot glue off of here. Partially because I'm also afraid that if I pull the hot glue, the point's going to come off as well. So I can pry it back a bit. So it seems like it's staticky a lot, but it's still giving us some type of sound. So I'm going to go ahead and investigate the board a little bit farther and see what I can find here. So after looking at this for a while, I realized I was totally wrong on my assumption of this being the yellow wire. So how I came to that conclusion is if you look right here, you can see the yellow wires run, and that is one bumper right there. So this right here is a little pad. The other one is the same deal. That one's a little pad as well. But what's suspect is this orange wire right here and this black wire. Now the orange and black wire are actually running directly to where we hot glued earlier. Now I'm definitely not going to mess with this hot glue just because we had that incident earlier. There's no guarantee that I'm actually going to find another point to supplement the tempo tone control in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just literally going to go through here, and I'm just going to cut both of these wires, and we can add extensions to them. So I'm going to cut right here, and I'm going to cut right here. Now I 100% believe these to be our speaker wires. Now hopefully I'm not wrong on that one, but I do believe these are speaker wires, and we're going to be super careful when it comes to taking these off. So I'm going to go ahead and right here, we're just going to strip them little by little. Just because if they come off the board, we don't have any choice other than pulling that hot glue off. So there we go. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and latch, without connecting the speaker back, we're going to go ahead and latch our Pro Sounds directly onto that, and then see if that gives us the actual sound we're looking for. I'm going to turn this down a bit as well. Just rolling these a tiny bit to make sure they stay in. It still doesn't seem to be working, so let's go ahead and reset it just to make sure that it is functioning. So this one is being rather a pain. So it doesn't seem to be functioning now. So let's go ahead and connect the wires and just see if it restores it. I'm going to go ahead and add extensions to it. Now that we have the speaker restored, let's go ahead and test the Pro Sound one more time so we know that it is making noise. So as you can hear, that's actually working perfectly now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and strip these wires down just a tiny bit more so I can wrap them around here. And then we're going to solder those in. So messing around with it for a while, I figured out that we don't actually have the option to latch onto the speaker wires to support a LED. But what I did find is if I latch onto this capacitor right outside here, right outside the microcircuit, and I use the ground wire, we can actually give the illusion that we're running a sound activated LED. And the cool part about this is, if you stop the sound, it actually starts fading. So it is a color changing LED. Now, this is going to be a very, very hard thing to actually solder onto. So I'm going to go ahead and touch around it to see if we can get that anywhere else. Okay, so right there. So you see this pad right here. I'm not super worried about that pad as opposed to this capacitor right here. Because if that capacitor comes off, this instrument's good as fried. So I'm going to go ahead and go and solder right onto this pad, and we're also going to add a resistor to it if possible. So this isn't actually put together, I'm just kind of resting that on there. But I'm gonna call it a night, and then I'm not exactly happy with it. I'm actually wanting to add more LEDs. So I want to match this side to this side. So where we put one big LED over here, and then we have the 3 blue LEDs running across. And it, of course, needs an extra paint job. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm just going to sit down and paint this. But electronically, I think I am done for the night. But we are going to go ahead and paint it real quick, and we will be back at it tomorrow. All right, so now that we have the paint job on and everything, and it is a new day, we are going to go ahead and do this to the other side. So we're going to do these 4 LEDs in parallel, 1 slow fading color changing LED, the 3 tiny blues. We're going to run those in parallel all the way through here. So we're just going to make that side match this side. Hello everyone. So I figured I'd give you guys a garden tour because I know I said I was going to do it over live stream. And this is the garden this year. So we have mints up here. These are all pepper plants. We have some tomatoes right here, tomatoes there. That's actually my habanero from last year. So you may remember that. That's about 2.5 years old. I'd say about 2 years old. It's an old one. You can actually see where it was cut last year to reset the plant. Right there. And we have a couple different peppers right here. These are the Trinidad Scorpions. So they are looking absolutely fantastic. And I wanted to do this now, so I didn't really clean up the deck or anything, because we actually have a little visitor right here. You can see him right there. Oh, he ran out. But yeah, we have a little bunny that's kind of touring the garden as well. So this is all the parsley from last year. So crazy enough, I didn't even replant this. This stuff just grew right back out. So that is parsley from last year. Then you have mint here, so this is the apple mint. And I think that's peppermint or spearmint. I get them mixed up a lot. It's one of those, and then I have pineapple mint right here. There's more parsley back here. This is, I don't remember what type of mint that is. Oh yeah, that is apple mint as well. So it grew out. And then we have more tomatoes right here. I have a ghost pepper row. So all these guys are ghost peppers. Then these monster tomatoes. Then we have dill. Then this right here is fennel, which is a type of dill. Just very, very pretty. Then what the rabbit was hiding behind over there, that is also a tomato plant. We have some mint right here. This is the mint basket you may have remembered was actually in my growing room. Then there's also pepper plants right there. We've got this massive pepper plant here, along with this one. So that's one whole plant. And we have two right there. And this is really cool. So I actually designed this early spring. So this is a tower where you can grow strawberries in. I have a tomato plant that is absolutely rocking, which I need to get some aspirin to spray on this to boost its immune system to kind of get rid of all this. I think at one point I kind of overwatered it, but the tomato plant itself is just monstrous. So if you see that, that is all one tomato plant. So it's rather big. Then I have some candy cane peppers in here that are growing out. This is strawberries down here. These are some trees that we're planting. They're just maple trees, oak trees, things of that nature. There's a couple peppers. Then right here, these are more peppers. And peppers, these are all habaneros. And this is a mix of some peppers. But I don't know what this big guy is. So I had 3 labels in here. And I believe they're all Naga brain strains, but I'm not quite sure. I don't remember what those are. I was very, very bad with labeling this here. And this is kind of the same deal. I don't know what this guy is either, but they're looking fantastic. We're starting to get flowers on them, so they're looking good. And this is another tomato plant. So this is a Brad's Atomic Grape right here. So as you can see, we've got a couple of tomatoes coming in. And then they're actually looking all striped and everything, as the Brad's Atomics do. And right here, this is an Empire tomato. And I have another tomato over here. I don't remember what that one is. But these guys are kind of interesting. So weird enough, you may remember these being planted here last year. And they I thought they were dead. They survived all winter, so to tell what the surprise that is, these are actually citrus trees. So these are called flying dragon trifoliate orange citrus trees. Trifoliate because of the leaves. They have 3 on them. But I did not expect them to grow out this year. I just kind of left them as sticks and they grew out this year. I'm super surprised. So this year I'm probably going to pull them in and end up doing something else with it. So this is kind of a pepper wall right here. So these are all pepper plants. Down here we have mint. There is more dill. It looks like somebody was in here. Possibly may have been the rabbits earlier. Yeah, they dug quite a bit in there. So yep, looks like there's some dill. Here's another little tree growing right there, which I'm going to end up taking out and putting somewhere else. These are all green onions. Then we have some potatoes right here. So this is actually a potato plant. More potatoes. So we have a lot of these. I didn't think they grew in multiples, but they do. And this is another tomato plant right here. So a rather large one. Then over here, these are all habanero plants. It looks like I'm getting some grass in here. And interestingly enough, look at these guys. They don't look like habaneros, but they are. Those all came from the same habanero, weird enough. So to see some growing in black, that's kind of strange. And then this right here, this tree, it's kind of interesting. It just started growing one day last year. And I never pulled it or anything because we didn't do anything with this side of the garden. And I ended up just continually topping it, kind of like bonsaiing the tree in a way. And this is kind of the result so far. Since it's so close to the apartment, I don't want to let it just grow wild, so I'm doing just bonsaiing it. And it's a very thick tree. It has a lot of new leaves on it, and I just keep topping it down, so yep. And then even though it's sort of late to start seeds, I am starting some seeds right there. So these are a type of ghost pepper. Like that's called purple splotched ghost. And this one, it's boot jolokia, which is ghost. But this is a purple pumpkin ghost. So I am rather excited to see them. I don't know if they're going to fruit. They may be overwinter type of peppers, but we'll just kind of see when we get there. But that is what's going on. And some more peppers back here. Then over here, this is a Smoking Edge Carolina Reaper. So this is known to be the hottest pepper in the world. It's absolutely beautiful. So it has its own bucket, and then all these are citrus trees. So this is a Calamandan orange. He fruits a lot. So this thing always has fruit on it. It's absolutely fantastic. I love this thing. The oranges are very, very sour on it. This is a Flying Dragon trifoliate orange as well. And it wasn't doing as well either. I kind of put it in its own little thing and it's doing pretty good now. So that's a Meyer lemon. Then this is a sitting graft. It doesn't look like it took. I haven't actually messed with the grafts in a couple days, but right there you can see some flowers coming in. You got some new growth on them. Right here, this is a key lime. This also has quite a few different little flowers on it. So it looks like there's actually a ladybug there too. Or not a ladybug, that's a firefly. Lightning bug, as we call them around here. And right here, this is a pink lemon. It's a variegated pink lemon tree. So it's doing really, really well too. So a lot of these actually lost a lot of leaves over winter time just because they didn't have enough light. And now they're doing really, really well. So it's good to see. This guy has a lot of sitting grafts too. So this is a graft. It's a suitcase graft I put on it. And there's another one that's right here. Which, considering the limbs that they're on are still doing good, I'm guessing the suitcase grafts are probably doing well as well, so we'll see. And then this is a Nagami kumquat tree. So this thing has a crazy amount of growth on it. And then I have, I think, 4 sitting grafts on this, possibly 3. So they look to be doing okay. Looks like it has some new growth underneath the graft, which is kind of funny to see. And we'll check this one. I think I just bent it down, but I don't know. That whole limb looks brown, so we'll kind of have to see about that. I think that means the graft failed, but not quite sure. So keep your fingers crossed for me on that one. But so those are all the citruses, aside from the ones we kind of have planted on the side. So if you see these little trees that are sticking up everywhere, so there's another trifoliate. These are all just citruses. So when we eat citruses, we just save the seeds and we just toss them back here. And then you can see all these seeds right here that are coming from the bird feeder. So you just kind of got to know the difference between the citruses and the bird feeder seed. But that's a nasturtium right there. And then 2 Alaskan nasturtiums, which are doing really well. This one was a Jewel Peach Melba nasturtium. For some reason, this thing is not doing good at all. It's got these leaves on it, but other than that, it's seeded out and then died away. So I don't know if they run their life cycle and that's it, or what the deal is, but that one back there is rather big compared to all the other ones. There's more citrus trees. You see right there, there's little maple trees growing. Then over here, these are all our tomatoes and everything. Then we've got some Carolina Reapers over here. These are candy cane peppers. Got some orange bell king peppers back there. There's another candy cane pepper right here. This one I think has some sitting peppers as well. Maybe not, maybe just flowers. Then our other candy cane most definitely has some stuff on it. Well, one of these does. There we go, that's it. So I think we have 5 candy canes in total. Then you see that sitting pepper right there. It's not large as the other ones, but there's some mint back there. We have orange bells planted by the wall. And these are also citrus trees. You can see that one's coming in beautifully. So here's our citruses. These are all Carolina Reapers. Started a little bit later than that guy over there, but all these guys are Carolina Reapers. Then you'll see these little tiny plants that we have planted everywhere. I was kind of playing Hunger Games with habanero plants, and that's where the other ones over there came from that you saw inside the little buckets and stuff. So I was just letting them grow, and then if they choked each other out, you know, so be it. I didn't really have the room for it. So thought that was kind of fun to do, and then I decided to be a good person and planted them all separate, so now they're all here. So this is a stevia plant. So stevia plant, if you've never tried them, they kind of taste like sugar. They're really, really strong taste, and they're actually used as a sweetener. But they taste absolutely amazing, and they're easy to grow. I don't really mess with it at all. So you can see right here, this is a red habanero. Here's more parsley that's flowering. I'm going to lift this up. There we go, and you can see more ghost peppers back there. That's purple basil. Then right here we have lemon balm. The lemon balm absolutely went insane, but it smells fantastic. A couple sitting tomatoes you see down here, which we've actually harvested quite a few tomatoes already. I think we've harvested we've harvested 5 tomatoes already. No peppers as of yet, but this is actually another mint. These guys aren't doing so well though. They were actually rocking it for a while, and now they're just kind of looking straggly. They're not looking as full as they were. And this is a chocolate habanero. And I believe that is everything. So I did a horrible job at labeling stuff this year, but overall, it's been a successful year so far. You can see a bunch of little tiny peppers growing in there. This thing, I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's barrage weed, but I'm not positive. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it.